Hi, I'm Matt and welcome to my latest gaming news video. I'll be covering recent gaming news as well as some other gaming related things in this video. As always, I'm grateful for any feedback, so if you feel the need to do so, please leave a comment below. You can also like and subscribe if you're enjoying my videos and coverage. I will now get into the gaming news. First up, we have some Cyberpunk 2077 sequel info to cover. As you may know, a Cyberpunk sequel is in development at CD Projekt Red, alongside a number of Witcher projects, including The Witcher 4. But the Cyberpunk sequel has only been given a codename as far as I can tell, that being Orion. Other than that, not too much else is known, and I suspect it's probably going to be a number of years away at this point. I'm not sure what will be actually first, Witcher 4 or one of the Witcher projects or this sequel. My guess would be one of the Witcher projects, but I'm not quite sure. Recently, a CD Projekt dev came out and said that 2077 was just a, quote, warm-up. The full tweet reads, quote, "First day in the Boston office, so good to meet old friends and officially kickstart our Orion journey. I couldn't be more excited for this project, and I'm sure we can make it something special. 2077 was just a warm-up." So yeah, I guess if 2077 was just a warm-up, it was a pretty big one, I'd say. Like doing a marathon to warm up for a gym session or something, or in this case, if the sequel is bigger, which I guess it will be, it's like doing a marathon to warm up for an ultra marathon, maybe. I'm not quite sure. There was other reporting that CD Projekt are going to try and learn from the issues and problems that surrounded Cyberpunk 2077 on launch, and yeah, I would hope so. Hopefully, they try to avoid those same issues with the sequel. I haven't actually played Cyberpunk yet, but I think most people can agree, whether you played or not, that it had a pretty rough launch, mostly with performance issues and bugs, among other things. Yeah, there's all sorts of compilations and meme videos of the game around the time of release when it had a number of issues. I think especially on the last gen console versions of the game, I think those are still pretty rough to play from what I've heard anyway. But yeah, the game is in a far better state now and is a really great game from what I've heard, and reviews reflect that, including reviews for its Phantom Liberty expansion, which I've heard is really great. Seen reviews and the likes reflect that. CD Projekt Red narrative director Philip Weber also said on a podcast back in December, so just a month or so ago, that he would like the sequel to expand on the game's life paths, which, according to the Game Rant article I went over, has a lessened effect the further players progress in the game. And he also said, mentioned that given more time, they could have expanded on the life pass feature. So yeah, it looks like the sequel will have more put into the life pass and how they affect your playthrough. Sounds good to me if they do expand on it. Significantly. I think sounds interesting. But yeah, it would be nice if it was expanded upon in the sequel. So definitely looking forward to more details on the Cyberpunk sequel. But as with the next Witcher game, we're probably going to be waiting a while for more detailed info, let alone a release. I mean, we might hear a bit more later this year, maybe. I think more than likely we'll probably hear a bit more about the next Witcher project, which could be one of the remakes or Witcher 4 maybe. But yeah, all of these games are still quite ways off, I believe. Next up, some news related to CD Projekt Red. A number of former devs at the studio who worked on both The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077 have now revealed their first game since setting up their own game dev studio. The studio is called Rebel Wolves, maybe a nod to Geralt maybe, and was started in February of 2022, so a couple of years ago. The studio's CEO and game director, Conrad Thomas Chewix, not quite sure how to pronounce a couple of these names, was the director for The Witcher 3. The game was revealed by Rebel Wolves via their Twitter / their X and is called Dawnwalker. The tweet reads, quote, "Usually we don't comment on rumours. However, since we've heard something through the grapevine, yes, we are working on Dawnwalker." Yeah, sounds interesting. Given the name, artwork, and color used in the reveal image, which I will put up here, it seems that this is going to be a game where you play as a vampire of some kind, or at least it takes place in a world with vampires, has a vampire setting, which I'm quite interested in. the lead quest designer for The Witcher 3 and its Blood and Wine expansion, which, yeah, is a amazing expansion, really, really great. Love The Witcher and its expansions, Witcher 3. So yeah, the lead quest designer for that and Blood and Wine expansion, Matthias Tomaskiewicz, if I got that right again, I'm not quite sure, is also now with Rebel Wolves as the studio's creative director. He's been quoted as saying, "Throughout all my years in game development, story-driven role-playing adventures have always been something I was most passionate about. For me, nothing beats being able to fully immerse myself and discover handcrafted stories and worlds. We want to craft a world that you will want to explore and deep dive into and tell stories that make you care about the characters. We aim to deliver an experience that will allow for a variety of choices and room for experimentation when replayed." Bit of a longer quote there, but I feel it gives some insight into what Rebel Wolves have planned for Dawnwalker. On the Rebel Wolves website, the game is described as, quote, "our own AAA IP, dark fantasy RPG, the first title of a planned saga." So yeah, it could be if it goes well, I guess it could be a trilogy, maybe similar in some vein to the Witcher games. I've not heard of Rebel Wolves before researching this, but yeah, Dawnwalker has me really intrigued actually. Even though barely anything's been shown, but still, given the background of some of the people who are involved with the project, yeah, definitely does have me interested. I'll definitely be keeping an eye on this going forward. But yeah, definitely do like the idea of a dark fantasy RPG with a vampire setting. Yeah, sounds really great. Hopefully ends up being great, and they hopefully they show maybe some stuff this year. That would that'd be nice. But I suspect, as with the Witcher games, this is probably a little ways out from release. Moving on to the next story. This one's about Elden Ring, specifically its DLC/expansion Shadow of the Erdtree. I believe Shadow of the Erdtree was announced back in February of 2023. And since then, not much has been shared about the, I'd say, massively anticipated expansion. I think I've covered this Shadow of the Erdtree a few times previously. But now rumours suggest we could see a release sometime in February, though this isn't confirmed. Recently, however, it's looking like From Software and Bandai Namco could be readying a release date announcement, maybe in February. SteamDB, a site which tracks game data among other things related to Steam, recently had a change added to its Elden Ring page. This was spotted by ex-user at Ziostorm on the 11th of January. I'll put an image up. And yeah, as you can see, an unknown app 2778580, I believe, was added to the DLC selection of Elden Ring's Steam page, which was reflected and revealed on its SteamDB page. Some have speculated this means we could see an announcement coinciding with Elden Ring's second anniversary. This would be on the 25th of February of this year, 2024. If this is the case, we probably won't see a release in February. I'll be surprised if we do. But sometime later, maybe March or April, I guess. But yeah, we have no certainty at the moment. Or maybe From Software will surprise us and release it right at the end of February. You never know. As a fan of Elden Ring and other From Software games, I'm definitely looking forward to Shadow of the Erdtree. I'm very interested in getting more details and seeing what this DLC will entail. Hopefully they just expand on the already great game. If we go by previous DLCs, expansions for like the Dark Souls games and other From Software games, I can imagine, or I do imagine it would be a good expansion. If anything is revealed, I'm pretty sure I'll most likely cover it in the future. Hopefully we get some concrete info soon. I suspect there are, pretty certain there are a lot of people, including myself, that are really interested in seeing what this DLC is going to be like. Next piece of coverage is about Battlefield, specifically a new unannounced Battlefield game, a game which is planning to have the, quote, most realistic destruction. According to the VGC article, DICE is currently working on a future multiplayer experience for the Battlefield series and will serve as a co-developer on the next Battlefield single-player campaign with Ridgeline Games. Meanwhile, DICE LA, which was renamed to Ripple Effect, is working on a, quote, entirely new Battlefield experience that will complement and build upon the series' foundation. This, quote, entirely new Battlefield experience is apparently going to have the most realistic destruction ever in a video game, as spotted by Tech for Gamers and Brought on by VGC, a new job advert looking for a VFX director reads, quote, looking for a senior 3D artist like you to help us create the most realistic and exciting destruction effects in the industry. It seems that DICE, Ridgeline Games, and Ripple Effect, formerly DICE LA, are all working together on the next mainline Battlefield entry, each doing different things by the looks. I guess we could see separate multiplayer and single player games, though I suspect both will be rolled into one game. Although I guess wording like quote complement and build upon could point to a spin-off or standalone game, but I'm not sure. But actually, the VGC article does mention the Ripple Effect game being a standalone one, actually, so that's quite interesting. Wonder how they'll sort of lay out the next Battlefields. Whether there'll be two separate but related games, yeah, not quite sure. As a fan of the Battlefield franchise, I think the first one I ever played was Vietnam, I believe. Like this was years ago on like the family PC. So yeah, been playing them for a little while on and off. But specifically definitely interested in hearing more about the next game. Hope it has a better launch and reception than 2042. I think Battlefield 2042 is actually really good now. I bought it on sale a few months back and I've been really enjoying it when I've been playing it. I've played a fair bit of it now. From what I understand, it's a far better experience than it was on launch. Is a shame though. DICE took so long to turn the ship around, so to speak. Really hope DICE have learned from the problems they had with 2042 and Battlefield 5, I guess, on release, and don't make those same mistakes again. This does seem to be a common thing these days with some games. You wait a year or two to actually buy the game because that's how long it takes for them to get up to into a better shape. But yeah, as a fan of the Battlefield games, I certainly don't want a repeat of what happened with both 2042 and 5 on launch. That'd be pretty rough to have a third game that has a pretty bad launch. At least those games are doing much better now. Though I'd prefer it if they had launched in a good state, like how Battlefield 1 did. Really loved Battlefield 1, and that was absolutely fine from what I remember on release. So yeah, hopefully they go back to releasing, having good releases with the next Battlefield games. Guess we'll just have to wait and find out. Next up, I wanted to cover Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and what's going on with that at the moment. This Suicide Squad game is going to be the newest mainline game, or game released by the acclaimed Rocksteady Studios since 2015's Batman Arkham Knight. Yeah, they're mostly, I believe, known these days for the that Arkham trilogy. Yeah, trilogy. I played a bit of them. I haven't played City. I played Asylum and Night, which I did like. Yeah, I thought they were good. But yeah, they're held in very high regard. They're classic, really held in high regard games. And yeah, given that Batman Arkham Knight came out in 2015, it's been around 9 years since we got a major game from Rocksteady, and it seems fans of the Batman Arkham games aren't too happy with the upcoming Suicide Squad game. I think people were hoping for a new third-person action adventure game like the Batman Arkham games, either a new Batman game or maybe another superhero like Superman. I'd heard some people mentioned that they may have been working on a Superman superhero game, but apparently this wasn't. It's been nowhere confirmed. It was just complete speculation. It's also worth noting that Rocksteady, some people mentioned, may not have had a choice and were sort of forced to make Suicide Squad in some way. I've heard some people mention that online. Whether that's the case, I'm not really sure. But yeah, so instead, Rocksteady are making Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, which is a live service action shooter. And yeah, people don't seem too happy with that. Recently, a number of YouTubers and games media outlets got some preview time with the game, and yeah, the feedback isn't too great. I could be wrong, but I think this is the second major preview of the game given to like YouTubers and media outlets. I think the previous one was about a year ago. But yeah, anyway, ever since this game was announced, I've mostly heard negative things about the game. I believe the game was also delayed previously. I think I've heard something of that, or at least it was they did something and wanted to change a few bits with the game, and yeah, due to negative feedback. But yeah, anyway, IGN, who is one of the outlets to preview the game, said, quote, "We played it and didn't like it. Rocksteady's first large-scale game in almost 9 years is not clicking with us yet. Unfortunately for Suicide Squad, once the fun story bits end, you're left with a much less inspired combat system and an open world that's filled with tedious tasks." But yeah, it's a bit of a meme and kind of a rule of thumb these days due to IGN scoring. So I guess sometimes um, mediocre games positively. And yeah, if IGN isn't liking something, it's a cause for concern for the game, I'd say. Yeah, if IGN, who are memed on for scoring things higher than most, end up not liking game, it may point to said game being underwhelming at best. Recent previews, along with the overall negative reception this game has garnered even before release, has me concerned that this is going to be another live service flop. This is, yeah, my opinion on it, but take it with a grain of salt, I guess, as I don't enjoy these types of live service shooters. But from what I've seen, the game to me looks very underwhelming, so lackluster, you might say, and like any other generic live service shooter with microtransactions and a battle pass. As someone who seldom gets interested in these type of games, I was far more interested in Anthem than I am in Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Heck, I was even more interested in the Avengers game, which yeah didn't do too well and was recently shuttered or removed from storefronts. Wouldn't be surprised if this Suicide Squad releases and is a hard flop, along with the game looking very mediocre to me. The current market seems to have too many live service games. I don't think we need another. Obviously, I could be totally wrong. As I said, these aren't my type of games. One thing to note, SkillUp, who I regularly watch and who puts out great content, said he doesn't hate the game, at least not its single-player elements, but can't really see how it's going to... Doesn't... it sort of spoke of how he didn't think the game would do too well as a live service after the single-player stuff is sort of... like you've sort of gone through the single-player elements of the game. He doesn't think, the game has much stuff to offer as a live service. And yeah, he has vastly more experience than I with these games, and I trust and value his opinion. And yeah, who knows? Maybe the game will be fine. We only have a couple weeks to wait and find out. The game should be releasing on February 2nd. I'm interested to see how this game ends up being received. I do wonder, is this is this another Avengers, or is it better, or is it worse? I guess we have a couple of weeks to find out. Yeah, I certainly am not going to be playing it. I wouldn't have thought, but still going to be interested and keeping an eye on how it's reviewed. Now, moving on, we have some Forza Motorsport news to cover. Just for some background and context, this is the first Forza Motorsport since number 7 back in 2017, and it hasn't been received too well by the community. Something I think I've covered a couple of times previously. It currently has a mostly negative rating on Steam, with only 38% of all reviews being positive, 37% of recent reviews, and only peaks at a little under 800 daily players at the moment, or around when I checked. In contrast, Forza Horizon 5 peaks at around 15,000 daily. Even Horizon 4 peaks at around 8,000 daily. So even Horizon 4 has around 10 times the player count peak of the latest Motorsport. So yeah, that's pretty wild. As you may notice, I've used it for footage. I only play it to get footage of for these videos, as I didn't enjoy what I played of the campaign. Last time I played it, the game would crash after every race concluded. And I had a number of stutters and FPS drops, so not a great experience. It seems like the crashes, though, were relegated to the campaign modes, but I'm not quite sure. But nonetheless, it wasn't a great. It isn't a great performing game, or not a well optimized game, as you could say, I guess. It's not like it doesn't get like a decent FPS, but there's stutters and issues with the game and the way it looks and things, I think, is the main performance issues. Anyway, after all the issues and player feedback being quite negative, Turn 10 have put out a message, a kind of roadmap without the dates, you could say. In this, they detail 3 main things that are, I believe, the main sticking points for players. First off, car progression. This is probably the biggest issue for me with the game. I really don't like the progression in the latest Motorsport. The car leveling upgrade system and the fact I was being gifted high tier cars after barely playing a few hours just sort of ruined the game for me. But yeah, hopefully they can improve the car progression, though I don't think they're going to change the car rewards. For me, Forza Motorsport 4 was probably the best car progression any Forza ever had. Like if they just went back to that sort of system. Next on the list was Forza race regulations. This will be updates focusing on penalties, and to help with this, they are going to be working with competitive Forza players to gather telemetry data on inconsistent or unfair penalties. Seems like yeah, when you're racing and things, it can be very inconsistent whether you're penalised or whether someone else is, and that can, yeah, obviously cause a lot of issues in a racing game. Finally, AI is getting updated. This would be to improve the AI drivers and their driving behavior, and includes addressing the overly aggressive AI that brake too hard in corners and follow racing lines too strictly. Too strictly. These things, among others, can cause hazards to the player while driving, obviously, and can worsen the experience of racing in the campaign and solo. These improvements are planned to take place over 2024. Will they improve the game to a degree where I may actually play through Forza Motorsport? I doubt it, but I'm happy to be proven wrong. Maybe in a year or so, I'll try it again, the campaign and stuff, and after a number of updates, and maybe I will like it. I doubt it, but yeah, I'm happy, as I said, to be proven wrong. At least, if not for me, it will be hopefully be a better experience for those who do play the game for reasons other than to get nice looking footage for videos. I guess we just have to wait and see. I wish Turn 10 the best, even if I'm doubtful it will make much difference to me. I just want to add a, yeah, just remake or remaster Forza Motorsport 4, please, with an updated roster of cars. That would, yeah, that would be great. Or I guess simply update Forza Motorsport to be more like number 4. That's probably an easier way to do it instead of redoing a whole remake of a older game. Moving on, the penultimate bit of gaming news is Halo related. I think this is the first time I've covered Halo as far as I can remember. I'm a fan of the old games, specifically Halo 2 and 3. I've played a bit of the first game as well, but not as much. Got the Master Chief Collection on Steam also, and have been wanting to play through all the campaigns at some point, but yeah, just haven't got around to doing so yet. As for Infinite, I'm not that interested in it. I may give it a go someday, but for now it doesn't interest me. I'm not really into competitive shooters. Maybe I'll just play it for the story and the campaign mode via Game Pass or something. But anyway, the actual news is that an unannounced Halo Battle Royale game has been cancelled. Or an alleged Halo Battle Royale game has been allegedly cancelled. This is according to Xbox Era co-founder Nick, who recently spoke about this on the Xbox Era podcast. Reportedly, this Halo Battle Royale game was known as codename Tatanka and was being developed by Certain Affinity, who are said to be a support studio. As IGN points out, neither Microsoft / Xbox nor 343 Industries, who develop Infinite among others, have ever spoken publicly about this unannounced Battle Royale. Certain Affinity COO Paul Sams, during an interview with VentureBeat in September 2022, hinted at an unannounced Halo game that they were working on. Paul said in the interview that, quote, "We are doing something unannounced and we're doing lead development on that unannounced thing, from conception and design. It's something big and new for the franchise, but I can't see any more about it." He did mention a bit more about not being able to talk about the unannounced game and that they had almost 100 developers working on the title. Certain Affinity also tweeted in April that they were, quote, deepening their relationship with 343, Halo Infinite's developers, as I mentioned. But since 2022, however, no more has been shared about the project, and apparently it has almost certainly been canned. But yeah, I'd not heard anything about this before at all. I think a Halo Battle Royale could have done well, at least initially. Whether it would have had any longevity, I'm not really sure. More interested in playing a Halo Battle Royale, to be honest, though, than Infinite's Online, I have to say. I am, yeah, definitely more into games like PUBG and the likes than competitive stuff like Infinite and, I guess, or somewhat competitive, I guess, and competitive games like Counter-Strike. But yeah, who knows? Maybe this Battle Royale will rear its head again. Maybe they're just keeping silent for a while. If they have a lot of the assets and stuff worked out, maybe it's worth rebooting it in the future if it has been canned. I guess only time will tell. And a final piece of main news before we move into the upcoming games coverage is some more layoff news again this week. First of the two companies is Twitch. The streaming platform is going to be laying off over 500 employees. This amounts to approximately 35% of its total workers. So yeah, that's pretty huge. In a blog post, CEO Dan Clancy said Twitch is, quote, still meaningfully larger than it needs to be given the size of our business. This was in spite of cost-cutting, or these layoffs were in spite of cost-cutting measures enacted through 2023. Since this news, the Twitch CEO has went live on the site and spoke of how Twitch is not profitable. Discord is the next company that is having a round of layoffs. It is letting go of 170 people, which is 17% of its total employee count. Discord put out a statement saying, in short, that they grew too much, with them seeing an increase in employees by 5 times since 2020. According to reports, Discord is also not profitable, but it hopes to become profitable in 2024. So, yet more layoffs. First two videos I've done this year have both had layoff news. I had heard people saying 2024 could be worse than 2023, which is going to be really rough. As always, I wish those affected by these layoffs all the best going forward, and hopefully, they can find new employment wherever they wish to go. Actually, before we move into the upcoming games, I did want to mention the absence of game reception last week and this week. I'm still sort of waiting for the more recent games I've covered from last week to be properly reviewed and things. So by the time this video is up, and a couple of the games would have been out, but I'll definitely be covering them again. It should be next week for a few of the games I covered last week. So we'll be getting back into the game reception hopefully next week. But anyway, now to the upcoming game section. We have another games to cover again this week, including some rather big releases, so let's get right into it. First up this week, we have Lil Guardsman. This is a rather unique looking casual puzzle game that takes its main gameplay loop from Papers, Please, but also adds some comedy and adventure elements. Lil Guardsman is taking the Papers, Please gameplay and giving it a more light-hearted spin, while also being set in a fantasy, medieval, mixed modern world. It does seem quite unique. The description of the game reads, quote, "Imagine you're a 12-year-old suddenly in charge of the guard shed at the castle gate, where you decide if elves, goblins, and 100 plus other characters should be admitted. It's a wonderful combination of deduction, narrative, and puzzle games." So, gameplay-wise, this seems quite similar to Papers, Please, at least the main gameplay loop of allowing, denying, or arresting people who wish to enter, in this case, the castle which you're guarding. There also seems to be, some adventure elements to the game, as well as an upgrade system which sees you buying tools with the gold you've earned as a guard. If you really like Papers, Please and want a game with a similar premise, I guess, but in a fantasy world, this might be the game to check out. Graphics-wise, it is a 2D game with a very nice cartoon art style. It does look pretty good. It reminds me of the Cartoon Network / Nickelodeon style of cartoon art from back in the day, I guess, but more modern, high fidelity looking. I'm quite impressed by the looks of the game. It it looks good, and as well as the animation quality, that looks good. Lil Guardsman is releasing on the 23rd of January. It's coming to most platforms, PC, Xbox Series X and S, PS5 and 4, and the Nintendo Switch. There's also a demo available for the game on Steam. But from what I could tell, the demo is only available on Steam. But I could be wrong last time I checked. The second upcoming game is Roots of Yggdrasil. This game is a roguelike deck building strategy city builder, and it's another rather unique looking game with a Norse setting and theme. I don't think I've ever played a deck builder, but I have played, and I am interested in city builders, and this game seems like an interesting fusion of the two. The description reads, quote, "Build settlements, explore the 9 realms, collect artifacts, and upgrade your buildings deck to reach the top of Yggdrasil in this post-Ragnarok roguelike city builder. Can you survive the end of the world?" The game's settlement building and construction is done via the use of cards you've acquired from deck building. At least that's what it seems. You're also in a race against time, trying to avoid getting engulfed by this purple-blue mist called the Ginnungagap. I assume that's something out of Norse mythology. Game is also procedural to an extent, with the islands, encounters, and events being generated procedurally, allowing for greater replayability. This is aided further by the many biomes that the game can take place in. Graphically, as with Lil Guardsman, it's a very unique looking game with a unique art style and direction, although in this game the worlds are 3D. Game art is very stylized and rather nice to look at, and the developers have done a great job with the Norse mythology theme, at least as far as I'm concerned. Roots of Yggdrasil is releasing into Steam Early Access on the 24th of January and is coming wholly to the PC. Next up we have Enshrouded. This is an open world survival action RPG set in a voxel based world. I had heard about this game before and it looks quite impressive. The setting is a medieval fantasy one, a setting which I feel hasn't had many survival games thus far. At least from what I can tell. And the game is giving off some Fable vibes, at least to me. The description reads, quote, You are Flameborn, last ember of hope of a dying race. Awaken, survive the terror of a corrupting fog, and reclaim the lost beauty of your kingdom. Venturing into a vast world, vanquish punishing bosses, build grand halls, and forge your path in this co-op survival action RPG for up to 16 players. As with other survival games, there is crafting, base building, hunting, resource gathering, and the likes. The gear crafting seems quite extensive in regard to armor and clothing, etc. The building, though, is what I'm most impressed by, as you can build large-scale structures, which can also be inhabited by NPCs, which can unlock advanced workshops and higher-end gear. That has me very intrigued. As this is an RPG, there's leveling, skills, and quests. Obviously, from what I've seen, the quest can lead you to dungeons where you fight bosses to gain loot, but this doesn't seem like the only type of quest in the game. Looks-wise, the game is 3D and is going for a realistic fantasy art style, and as mentioned, kind of looks like a modern Fable game in regard to aesthetic and style, at least what I'd expect such a game to look like. And the world and environments all look rather impressive too. Uncharted is releasing on the 24th of January and is coming solely to PC. Sorry, solely to PC at the moment. The 24th of January is just a PC release. The developers have said that the console release will be coming later. Definitely going to be, keep an eye on this one. It actually looks really cool. Now onto a big release, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. This is the 9th mainline Like a Dragon or Yakuza game, and is a direct sequel to Yakuza Like a Dragon. It is notable that this is going to be the first in the series to in part take place in a location outside of Japan, as one of the game's major settings is Hawaii. As mentioned before, I've not played any of the Yakuza / Like a Dragon games, but I know they have a huge fan base. I would like to try one in the future. They do intrigue me. This one, Infinite Wealth looks pretty cool. And Infinite Wealth is, as I said, a direct sequel to Yakuza Like a Dragon and has the player control Kazuma Kiryu and Ichiban Kasuga. The game takes place in the Isezaki Ijincho district of Yokohama, Japan, as well as Honolulu, Hawaii, US. As with the previous entries to the franchise, there's a large focus on the combat, which in a good way seems to usually be quite flamboyant and flashy. The Like a Dragon games also seem to be heavily story focused as well, and this entry looks to be keeping with that. Alongside the combat, there are mini games. These games seem to also be known for the minigame aspect of them. These include the series staple karaoke, and then darts, mahjong, and arcade games like Virtua Fighter and Sega Bash Fishing, among others. There's also a new mini game. There are new mini games, including a Crazy Taxi inspired food delivery one, a Pokemon inspired one, and a dating app one. Another side activity that looks really interesting to me is the Happy Resort Dawnwalker Island. I think this is as specifically as Kasuga. You manage his own resort island, which has building, resource gathering, crafting, as well as social elements. Sounds cool. Not sure if these games have had anything like this in the future, or anything like this in them before in the past. As far as I can tell, they don't. But yeah, sounds interesting. Along with these, there seems to be many other side things you can do. I think the Yakuza Like a Dragon games are known for a lot of the side things you can do alongside the story stuff. Yeah, they do. Yeah, have me very interested. These games. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is releasing on the 26th of January and is coming to PC, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, PS5, and 4. Definitely going to be checking on that when reviews and stuff comes out. So yeah, probably cover it again in the future. And the final main game I will be covering is Tekken 8. I think most people have heard of the Tekken games. They are 3D fighting games. Tekken 8 will be the latest in the long-running franchise. Not really in a fighting game fan, but I do vaguely remember playing one of the old Tekken games on the PS1. I think it was Tekken 3. That's the new PS1 Tekken I remember the cover of when I had a look. Not too much to say story-wise, other than it's a direct continuation of the story in Tekken 7, from what I can tell, with Tekken 8 taking place 6 months after the former. Obviously, as a fighting game, the gameplay is mainly focused on the fighting. To me, the fighting looks good. The animations, the over-the-top combat all looks nice. There'll also be the ability to customize the character roster with outfits and the likes, which seems decently detailed and varied. A new addition to the single player will be the arcade quest mode, where you craft your own unique avatar. It kind of looked like Mii's, I think it was Mii's from Wii, like lower fidelity like avatars, or the older Xbox avatars from the 360 era. And you can use these in an arcade setting by the looks, and there are a number of customization options that you can unlock for those avatars. Tekken 8 is also apparently the first major fighting game to make use of Unreal Engine 5, and all character models are completely new due to this, I guess. And thus it's a rather nice looking game too. Tekken 8 is releasing on the 26th of January. It's coming to PC, Xbox Series X, and X and S, and PS5. There is a demo available for the game on Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation Store. That's the main upcoming games covered. I did want to also, got a couple quick additional releases to cover this week. The first is Graven. This game is currently in early access on Steam. It is a retro-style dark fantasy 3D FPS, akin to games like Dusk, I guess, and is set in a medieval gothic fantasy world. It's a really nice looking game, and it pulls off the retro aesthetic quite nicely and has some thief vibes, kind of. The game has a mixed rating on Steam, not sure why, but from what I've seen, it seems good. Maybe it has issues that will be fixed with its full release. I'll probably pick this up at Game Up at some point, so we'll be keeping an eye on reviews when it fully releases. Graven is getting its full release on the 23rd of January. I believe there are plans for console releases in the future. And the final additional release is Hitman Blood Money Reprisal. This is a Switch port of Hitman Blood Money. Really great game. It has some additional features like Instinct Mode and ever-present minimap, and apparently many gameplay improvements. I'm a fan of the Hitman games, so it's cool to see this, although this is coming just to the Nintendo Switch. Although it is out for other devices, I'll touch on that briefly in a bit. I guess we could see it released for other platforms later, but it doesn't seem to be that much of an quote upgrade over the original game to justify a full new release on PC or console. It's essentially just a port of the game to mobile devices with some, specifically the Switch, with some extras. Hitman Blood Money Reprisal is releasing on the 25th of January, and as I said, is coming to the Switch. It is actually, as I mentioned, is already out for other devices, specifically Android and iOS, however. So if you want one of the Hitman games on the go, you could grab this for the Switch. I did check, and I don't think the other Hitman, so Codename 47 and Hitman 2 Silent Assassin, they're not available on the Switch as far as I can tell. But I think the newer versions of the Hitman are specifically cloud versions of the game, from what I can tell. Not entirely sure. But it'd be cool if they did this treatment for Codename 47 contracts and Silent Assassin. That would be really cool. And I do actually have one delay to cover this week, and it's a pretty big one actually. Stalker 2 has been delayed to September 2024. It was originally planned to release in the first quarter of 2024. I have to say I'm not too surprised about this. I can vaguely remember Stalker 2 getting a little negative feedback not too long ago. I think the feedback was in relation to the way it seemingly performed when being shown in gameplay trailers, and I believe the devs of the game did mention that the FPS frames per second wasn't quite up to scratch with what they wanted it to be. So they're pushing it back to work on it more, I guess. Fairly substantial today. So hopefully devs GSC will now have enough time to improve the technical side of the game. Studio did say in the announcement they will be working on polishing the game more. As a game I'm quite interested in. As I really liked the first Stalker. Glad they've taken the decision to push it back to get better performance with the game, because you don't want it to release and have issues like so many other games these days. Before I wrap this video up, I do have a video spotlight as usual. This is a really great video by Matt over at his DIY Perks YouTube channel. In the video, he converts a PS5 into a tablet, essentially. So essentially scales down a PS5 to fit into a tablet-like form factor. During the video, Matt details all the stuff he did to allow the PS5 to be scaled down to a tablet-sized device. It's a big tablet, but one nonetheless. And it's pretty wild to see it running. It's really cool. It's very interesting to watch. Definitely check it out if you're interested in this sort of DIY tech stuff. Very cool to see the sort of DIY solutions and things that Ye did to turn a basically a full-size PS5 into a tablet. And as always, the video will be linked in the spotlight section of the description below. That's all the game coverage from me today. As always, feedback is appreciated, so go ahead and like and leave a comment. If you enjoyed my videos and commentary, feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back again soon.